Hello and welcome to Pokemon Lair. Today I'll be unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards that I sent to Professional Sports Authority or PSA about a year ago, and they sent them to you back in this nice little box, professionally packaged, so they come to your house safe and sound. Let me get them out of this box and we'll see what grades I got, okay? Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Secret Mission, a first edition number 118th card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that it looks really good. You can read everything. The graphics look great. Looking at our centering, it looks like it's within tolerance, like it's supposed to. And looking at our corners and our edges, I think they are nothing to be ashamed of. As we turn to the back of the card, you can see that the good stuff continues on the back. Our edges and our corners look really good. Our centering looks within tolerance. And our surface has no scratches or damage that I can see. And our grade for our trainer is Gym Mint 10. Ice, yeah! Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Vermilion City Gym, a first edition, the 120th card. Looking at the surface of this card, you can see that it looks really clean. The graphics are clean and crisp. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and side to side, you can see it's slightly to the the left. And finally, our edges and our corners, don't see any damage. Continuing to the back, you can see that the surface looks really crisp and clean. There's no damage. Our centering looks pretty good from top to bottom and left to right. And looking at our corners and our edges, I don't really see any damage. This is not too bad of a card. And our grade is going to be a Mint 9. Like that for that trainer. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Blaine's Gamble, a first edition, the number 121st card of the set. Looking at this card, you can see the front surface and graphics have no damage. They look really good. Our centering from top to bottom and side to side, I think, is within tolerance. And I don't think there's any damage to our corners or edges. As we take a look at the back of this card, you can see that the surface and graphics are nice and clean. There's no damage. Our centering from side to side looks pretty good, but from top to bottom, it is quite a bit towards the bottom. And as we look at our edges and our corners, I don't see any damage there. I think it's all good. And as we check, our grade is near Mint 8. I think the off-centering on the front. And our grade's going to be a near Mint 8. I was thinking it might be off because of that off-centering on the back. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Energy Flow, a first edition, the number 122nd card. Looking at this card, you can see that the front graphics and surface look really good. They're looking at our centering from top to bottom, looks pretty good. Left to right, I don't think there's any issue there. And finally, our corners and our edges, I think, are within tolerance and are clean enough. As we turn to the back, you can see that the surface and the graphics look really good. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right actually is a little towards the lower left of the whole card. And looking at our edges and our corners, we have some slight damage on the two right corners. And that's going to give us a good grade of near Mint 8. Pretty good. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Misty's Duel, the number 123rd card. Looking at this card, you can see that the surface and graphics look really good. Our centering looks pretty good from top to bottom and left to right. And finally, our edges and our corners have no damage that I can tell. As we turn it over to look at the back, you can see that the surface looks really nice. The graphics look good. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right looks pretty good. But I think we have a problem with multiple of our corners where there's some slight damage. And our grade for Misty's Duel is going to be near Mint 8. That's not too bad for that old of a card. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Narrow Gym, a first edition, the number 124th card. Looking at the front surface and graphics of this card, you can tell that it looks really clean. There's no damage. Our centering from top to bottom looks good. From left to right, it looks pretty good. And our edges and our corners, I don't see any damage to affect the card there. As we turn to the back of the card, you can see the surface and graphics are really clean. There's no damage. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right is slightly to the left. And finally, looking at our corners and our edges, you can see there's some damage to the lower right corner. And that's going to give us a good grade of near mint 8. Getting a lot of those today. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Trash Exchange, a first edition, the number 126th card. Looking at the card, you can see that the front graphics and surface are nice and clean. There's no damage. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, it looks good. From left to right, it looks really good. And looking at our corners and our edges, I don't see any damage worth reporting. As we move to the back, you can see that the graphics in this surface of the card have no damage. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and left to right, it looks a little to the left. And finally, looking at our edges and corners, there is damage on all 4 corners. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. Nice. That's a little better than I expected. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Fighting Energy, a first edition, the number 127th card of the set. Looking at the front surface and graphics of this card, you can see that it looks really good. Looking at the centering on the card, it looks really good from side to side and top to bottom. And finally, looking at the edges and the corners, I don't see any damage there to affect its grade. Moving to the back of the card, you can see that its surface looks really good. Looking at our centering from top to bottom and side to side, I think it's a little to the right, but barely. And finally, looking at our corners and our edges, we have some damage on both right corners. And that's going to give us a grade of near mint 8. Not too bad for that energy. Our grading review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Grass Energy, the first edition, number 129th card of the set. Looking at the front surface of this card, you can see that it looks really good. You can see the graphics, our centering from top to bottom and left to right. I don't see any problems there, and I don't see any issues with our corners or our edges on the front of the card. As we take a look at the back, you can see that the surface of this card looks really good. I don't see any damage to the graphics. Our centering looks pretty good from top to bottom and left to right. And finally, at our edges and our centering, I think there's a small speck of damage on the lower left side, but there is damage to both right corners. And that's going to give us a good grade of near mint 8. Not too bad. Our grade review of a 2000 Pokemon Gym Heroes Lightning Energy, the first edition, 130th card of the set and last card of the set. Looking at this front of this energy card, you can see the graphics look really good. There's no damage. Our centering is within tolerance from top to bottom and left to right. And looking at our corners, there's no damage that will affect the grade. As we take a look at the back, you can see that there's no damage to the graphics or surface of the card. You can look at our centering and see that it's probably within tolerance from top to bottom and left to right. And finally, as you look at our corners and our edges, you'll see that there's very slight damage to both right corners. And that's going to give us a grade of mint 9. That's pretty good for an old lightning energy. I hope you liked this video of reviews and reveals, and if you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button below and come back to watch some more. But you got to remember, got to catch them all.